what we're going to do is Alexis, who is one of our newest, is our newest board member from Montana. She's going to talk a little bit about how climate change and the Keep It in the Ground movement became part of her life. And then if there's time, I'm going to relay how I recently became a Keep It in the Grounder myself through a variety of issues coming at us and what that really means for discussions with the industry. Alexis.
Thank you, Carl. My name's Alexis Bonogofsky. I am from Billings, Montana, fourth generation Montanan. And to be honest, I didn't know what I was going to talk about, and I still don't really know what I'm going to talk about. So we'll see where this goes. Back in 2011, all of you know that the Exxon oil pipeline underneath the Yellowstone River broke, and it flooded my ranch with oil. This was not a fun time in my life. Brought me to learn a lot about oil pipelines, and actually brought me to the Pipeline Safety Trust. Before that, and during that, and after that, most of my work was on coal development in southeastern Montana. Back in 2008, coal companies started coming into southeastern Montana to lease the billions of tons of reserves of coal that we still have for new coal mines. Just this year, we finally pushed back efforts of Arch Coal to open the largest proposed coal mine in the country. If you think that the Keep It in the Ground movement is just hippies and Californians and Greenpeace people, you would be wrong. My family owns tire stores. We're from farming and ranching communities in North Dakota and Montana. A lot of the people who are working on these issues, on oil, on coal, on gas, are farmers and ranchers. They're Republicans, they're Democrats, young people, old people, tribes. It runs the gamut of the people who are being brought into this movement. You can say that this sort of started in 2008 when people started to occupy government buildings during oil and gas leases in the West. And it has grown. I'm sure that no one here is unaware of what's happening in North Dakota, which is 60 miles from where my father's family homesteaded when they came from Russia. In an optimistic assessment of climate change, 80% of coal reserves in the world need to stay in the ground, 50% of natural gas needs to stay in the ground, and 30% of oil needs to stay in the ground, and that is optimistic. We have a gap between government policy dealing with climate change and what needs to happen. And what I think you see with the Keep It in the Ground movement, it is filling that gap. So this is democracy. This is participatory democracy when the structures of our government and our institutions are not dealing with problems that people are seeing on the ground. It is filled by actions by citizens. And this is a reality. It's growing. From 2008 to now, we've seen more and more people participate in these efforts across the country, and we will only see it grow until our policies of the United States government meet up with the realities of climate change. An interesting part about the pipeline spill on my ranch was that it was caused by, various issues. The pipeline was not underneath the river deep enough, but the river scour from this massive flood. In my entire lifetime, I grew up on this place. I had never seen the Yellowstone River come over the banks. My entire farm was flooded. So that scouring of the river, in a sense, was caused by catastrophic flooding from arguably climate change because of our snowmelt runoff. It's happening earlier. We're having flooding that we've never seen before. So not only are we seeing these impacts from climate change is impacting infrastructure in Montana and around the world. So this infrastructure we've built up with energy, with electricity, with all of these things that we need is going to be impacted by climate change and is impacted by climate change. So in terms of pipeline safety, climate change needs to be part of those assessments. Treating as if it is business as usual, as if we're moving forward in the sense that we can just keep drilling as much as we want, mining as much as we want, and just act like, put our heads in the sand and say that nothing's changing, that's not working. And I think that's, when we look at the Keep It in the Ground movement, that is a recognition of that this is not business as usual. My farm, it's been 5 years since the oil spill, and we've got 2 hay fields that are full of weeds. I think if I had to do it all over again, I wouldn't have let anyone on our place to do any remediation work. I think the oil would have been less damaging than what happened in the aftermath. So I've been working on these issues for a long time, and I think my takeaway is that for people here who are interested in the types of people who are working on these issues, it's not maybe who you think it is. The people working on coal, the ranchers who are fighting for their land on coal in southeastern Montana, killed a cow and sent that meat over to the protesters at the DAPL camp. These are people who vote Republican. There's some Trump supporters in there. The coalition that was working on these coal mines runs the gamut of political beliefs. Rural Montana is not a bastion of hippies and Greenpeace. It's just not. But there are people there who understand the impacts of climate change to their way of life and are supporting other people who are also protecting their places. So that's basically all I have to say today. I think until we all start taking climate change seriously, we're going to have more and more conflicts between the institutions that exist now that are not adequately dealing with what is going on the ground, and people will continue to try to protect their places. So that is all I have to say. Thank you.